Today, he blew the whole system up. Keith from Karratha has 6 times the upper house voting power of Karen from Kwinana.
Mark McGowan, he's going to reform how the upper house voting system works. Are you surprised by that?
Well, yeah, I am. Because someone told me very specifically that it wasn't on the agenda.
Mr McGowan, if you do get total control, will you ram through legislation to reform upper house voting that currently favours regions over the city?
It's not on our agenda.
The Premier said that on February 25 during this year's TV election debate. 7 weeks later, he called for a review. Today, he blew the whole system up.
So it was on the agenda.
It's been on the agenda for the Labor Party since 1907 when the Electoral Act was passed. The ALP hates that bit of legislation because it limited the geographical size of country electorates. It was for a very good reason. In the days of horse and cart, you couldn't be expected to go 2,000 miles to see your local Member of Parliament, and obviously you couldn't ring or Zoom. That meant seats in the bush have always had fewer voters than seats in the city, but the same voice in Parliament. It gave disproportionate voting power to people living in country WA, and country WA votes Conservative.
The Premier says he's changing the law because of Wilson Tucker.
The Premier is full of crap. Wilson Tucker is the daylight savings candidate who won a seat in the upper house with 98 primary votes. That is rank. But that could be tackled by introducing laws to stamp out preference whispering, which is how he got in. McGowan and his Electoral Affairs Minister John Quigley announced a nuclear option which will end the disproportionate power of country voters once and for all. It's a bigger play than just stopping numpties like Tucker from getting into power. Now, Malcolm McCusker, the guy they asked to review the whole system, I think he actually advised on the original 1907 laws, Malcolm pretty much said so himself today. He said this whole-of-state model recommended by his committee was almost inevitable, given the terms of reference devised by the McGowan government.
So Sneakers has learnt to be stealthy.
Learn? He wrote the book.
Why does he want to do this?
The lower house has 59 electorates. We pick 1 candidate for each. The upper house has 6 electorates, but each of those has got 6 members, regardless of how many people live in the electorate, which in some cases isn't many. The agricultural region, which covers Geraldton and the Wheatbelt, has 100,000 voters. That compares with 430,000 in the North Metro region. Huge population difference, same number of votes in the upper house.
Well, many will say that doesn't seem fair.
That's exactly what Mark McGowan reckons. He says it's wrong that Keith from Karratha, which is in the mining and pastoral region, has 6 times the upper house voting power of Karen from Kwinana, who lives in the South Metro region. What McGowan won't tell you is he voted for the current system. Alan Carpenter's government, McGowan was a cabinet minister there, they pushed through laws which redrew electoral boundaries in lower house seats. They evened up all the populations. They effectively took votes from the country, where the international roast drinkers support the Nationals and the Libs, and redistributed them to the city, where the almond latte sippers are more likely to support Labor.
So it was a vote grab?
Absolutely it was a vote grab. They had one problem. They needed to get the laws through the upper house. Members up there refused to pass Jim McGuinty's laws unless he gave them more power. McGuinty gave the upper house an extra 2 seats and agreed to have each of the 6 electorates represented by 6 members.
So McGowan voted in the system he now says is unfair.
Yep. 16 years on, he's now making amends. He's doing to the upper house what happened to the lower house, redrawing electoral boundaries so each electorate has the same number of voters. He'll go down in Labor Party history as the man who finally brought in 1 vote, 1 value, something the party has gone all the way to the High Court over. Not once, twice.
So what does it mean for punters in the bush?
It's bad. McGowan just handed down a state budget. Whopping surplus, money going everywhere. Every politician was in his ear asking for him to spend money in their electorate. If these laws go through, there will be very few politicians from the bush in his ear. And in politics, the squeaky wheel gets the funding. Just ask Brendan Grills. I'm Ben Harvey. For more update, click the subscribe button below.